All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Satanism, or I should say, the journey into Satanism, Part 5, Episode 3. Um, this is continuing the ritualistic aspects of Satanism. And I thought I'd take a moment to clarify the transitioning aspects of going from, say, for an example, one religion into another, or a former lifestyle, and getting into the dedication process of Satanism itself, or that of satanic witchcraft. The first thing the acolyte needs to understand is that the renunciation process is a necessary thing. Not only does it sever the umbilical cord from your past life, your past affiliation, but it sets forth a path working that will lead the neophyte to your dedication. Okay. And I'm going to get into both of these. But before I do, I want to get into the aspect of what the renunciation process is. Now, every religious foundation has some form or variation of the renunciation ritual. What this is denying or shunning that past affiliation. It's getting rid of it. Um, some aspects, like say through the Black Pyre, the theistic Satanism would have you blasphemy. Okay. Whereas a traditional or spiritual satanic rite would be to either reveal the Lord's Prayer, which is Psalms 23, or no, scratch that, Psalms 24, the Lord's Prayer, and saying it in reverse. Okay. And in some cases, you'd want to do this in about a 3-night process and just chanting it. And then when you feel that you're making that stride, such as feeling, say, for an example, guilt or shame or whatever, or the lack of, I should say, then you know it's working. Now, this is the spiritual aspect of it. Now, when you get into theistic Satanism, then you get into an aspect of complete dedication, of getting rid of it completely, just flat out blasphemy, that past aspects. For example, in Turk Suzic's book, the Demonic Bible, the consecration aspect or the blessing is literally follows the pact giving of mind, body, and blood, okay, or spirit. The soul aspects. And what's interesting to note about this is that even in his book, he utilizes the Lord's Prayer in reverse. But then he goes into the consecration aspects of blessing each body part from the feet to the legs to, say, for example, the vulva or the phallus, depending on which triangle is pointed up or down, the tip, and so forth, all the way up to the crown. Much in the same way as the Kundalini, the chakras, or even your Ka, your Chi, the yin and yang aspects of consecration. blessing and such. Now, what's interesting to note is that if we go into, say, for an example, the Devil's Bible by Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus, you can also get this in Tentatio Diabolis as well, which is a 3-in-1 book. 3 books in one. The Devil's Bible, The Devil's Disciple, and The Devil's Coven, all in one book called Tentatio Diabolis. Now, they've recently released another book called The Biblical Aspect of it, that has all of this, along with the Book of the Black Divine Flame of Satan, and the Satanic Oracles, from what I understand. So that's also very, very good. But anyways, in the Devil's Bible by Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus, he breaks this ritual down into 3 nights. Okay, and the renunciation takes place in the first night, where you have a black candle and you shred blasphemy, whatever you got to do. Second night is burying it, consecrating yourself within the new pact, or aligning yourself with the new path, because you're now ending that path and you're getting ready to go into the third night, where you not only show up without clothes for the second night, but in the third, you're in new robes. Okay, you're in the black robes instead of the brown, or that of, say, for example, the green and white. This is where you go into, from the, how should I say this, the renunciation to the consecration to the dedication. Okay, over the span of 3 nights. Okay, so Tentatio Diabolis, specifically the Devil's Bible, breaks it down into a 3-night process. Now, the Unholy Bible, which is a theistic Bible, by the Black Pyrie, actually talks a little bit about this aspect and breaking it down over a 3-night mantra, so to speak, where you chant the Lord's Prayer in reverse, or backwards, as they say, until you are done with that past affiliation. And then only then can you begin your journey into Satanism. Now, Robert Fries has a book called Satan's Bible. Now, a lot of people would say that this book is nothing more than a book of orgy, which, from what I've read of it, it basically is. But, it's another variation of traditional Satanism, much in the same way as Myrmidon Pontifex's book, but more based around Tiamat, the dragon of chaos, that is found in the Necromyicon. She's also spoken of in the Enema Elish, and in the Dictionary of Angels, including the names of the fallen, where there is a small little proverb, I guess you can call it, about her being the maid of Leviathan. So you can see how there's a lot of different understandings of what a renunciation is. Now, a consecration ritual requires that you bless yourself with the anointing oils, or that of, say, for an example, a ritualized bath, a cleansing bath, or a dedication bath. And Santa Morte, this would basically be a bath where you sprinkle water with a bunch of different herbs, smelly herbs, the same thing that would be done in Santeria. Okay. Now, this is very interesting to note as well, because of the fact that even in satanic or Wiccan practices, you can actually utilize salt water specifically sea salt, to cleanse yourself of past auras, past negativity type rituals, and actually begin anew within a path working of positivity. And a dedication ritual, well, this is where you actually dedicate yourself to a specific deity. It doesn't have to be Satanism, it doesn't have to be spiritual Satanism, traditional, or even theistic. It could be Wiccan, pagan, voodoo, voodoo, hoodoo, whatever. You can be working with the Loa or the Ugan, okay, or any of the pantheon gods or demigods that are out there. There are many, many different classifications of demons, angels, and the jinn, even gods themselves, from Ra to Zeus to Odin. Okay, these are just spiritual celestial gods. I mean, then you can get into demonolatry, which is Marduk and the Necromaicon, for an example, or Lucifer, the bearer of light, in angelology. Satan, the witch father. Okay, or even that of Belial, the opposer. Hades, Set, Loki. Okay, it doesn't matter what path working you're doing, as long as you dedicate yourself fully to that path. And only through a rite of renunciation and consecration can you actually dedicate yourself to the specific path that you choose or that fits your lifestyle. Basically, if it speaks to you, then it is the one that you are meant to follow. Okay? Now, once you've been dedicated to a path, there are some paths that you actually have to learn and be indoctrinated into through a Polero, or that of a high priestess, where you have to actually be accepted into a coven. That's if you actually want to get into a coven or an order or a temple. Now, you don't have to get into one of these things. You can actually become a solitary practitioner. That is your right as an individual. But how do you begin to even grasp the ritualized process? The first thing you really want to do once you've been indoctrinated or dedicated into being an adept rather than a neophyte or an acolyte, which are basically the beginner levels. Because once you've been dedicated and you've been accepted into the fold, this is where you become an adept. Okay? An adept is someone who has dedicated themselves to a specific path working. Okay? Satanism is not like, say, for example, Palo Mayombe, Santeria, okay, where you have to be brought into a specific house or that of a specific coven. Satanism, you can just basically begin your journey and do it within your own private confines of your altar room. Okay. But it does help to have a witness who can remind you of your dedication. Other times, you have an entire group. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out is one of the main things that just about every path working has is some form of pyramid structure. And this is the main thing I wanted to discuss in this video. Okay. You've all heard of the Witch's Creed. You've heard of the Witch's Pyramid. But in my experience, not many people fully grasp what that entails. So I wanted to discuss this and kind of lead you up to this point. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this specific video on. And I kind of just wrote some stuff down here my thoughts and everything, but I also got a couple of diagrams that I drew out for you that I wanted you to see. Now, the first thing you have to understand is that the witch's pyramid is the witch's oath, or that of the sorcerer, a warlock, a mage, a sage, somebody who has taken steps and made promises to a specific path working to, say, the Loa, the Ugan, the demons, the angels, the Djinn, okay, the old gods. And even down to your specific coven, order, temple, or even church that you align yourself with, okay? But most importantly, it is about you as the practitioner. Therefore, it is also solitary. Okay. And we all know the wordings to it, as in to know, to dare, to go, and to keep silent. Okay. These are the prime principles of this. But let's break them down, shall we? Number one, a variant imagination is something that is needed. Okay. To know something is real is to envision it. Okay. Now, to envision something is to have an active imagination and to be able to visually bring it. As E.A. Koetting put it, it is about evocation, to bring a being into physical manifestation. Okay. To will of fire. Okay. Now, this is something that is very unique because it is to dare. Okay. To will is to actually dare something to come forth, to dare yourself to go into a ritual or some form of grimoire, okay, some form of path working, to actually go out and do it, not just speak the words, but to actually follow through with it. The rock hard faith to go, okay? To go and having faith in it is to walk the faith. Now, anybody who's ever stood against Christianity knows that they have the faith, they have the belief, because this is how they were brought up in it, because most of these churchgoers have been brought up in the church to believe that one specific path and to disavow anything and shun it if it's not about that path. Okay? And then you have the flare of secrecy. Okay? To keep silent. Now, the reason you keep silent about your workings is due to, if anybody finds out about them, they can alter your books without your permission. They can do even counter what spells and rituals that you are putting forth. For an example, if you're going up against a practitioner and you're in the middle of a witch war, it would not beseech you to let them know that you are cursing them. Okay? Because you're giving them a chance to counteract it or to reverse it and have it come back at you. Now, if you know somebody that's not a practitioner and you let them know, then they're going to freak out and it's just going to set root even faster. So you see the difference there, but still, a lot of results comes from not revealing what you're doing for rituals, what you're studying. Okay. For an example, being a practitioner of Satanism gets you a long way. You can commune with like minded individuals, but you have to protect yourself from those fakes, the posers, these idiots that don't know shit, nor do they want to know shit about that particular path. They don't even want to work for it because they want everything handed to them on a golden platter. Okay? Now, I know a lot of practitioners who have come up against people like this. Even I have. And what's funny is if they don't get their way, they block you. If you give them what they want, they block you. So what's the point in doing it? Okay? Make them work for it. Okay? This is why a lot of practitioners, real practitioners, will keep silent about their workings. And they will only share with like-minded individuals from their own coven, their own temple, their own church, their own order, or even with those that they truly trust, that wish to know and to actually practice, like, okay, their workings. Now, what's interesting to note also is that you can actually align these four elements with a fifth element. Okay, think of them as the five pillars or the five columns. Okay, to know is associated with air, to will is associated with fire, to dare is associated with earth, and to keep silent is associated with water. Okay, but to go is associated with spirit. So most of the time when you look up a pentagram or you get into pentagram workings, you only see it from a two-dimensional surface. Spirit, fire, air, water, earth. Okay, the five elements. Okay, but when you really break it down and you get into the witch's pyramid, you're seeing the three-dimensional vortex. You're seeing the three-dimensional sightings of that pyramid. And I want you to see this, okay? Now, let me see if I can get this just so you can see it. There we go. Now, you notice the pyramid structure, the 3D image compared to that of the two, okay? This makes it real. This is just a visual, okay? Unfortunately, this is where most practitioners cease. They don't delve into the three-dimensional, okay, as in the whole. And that is something that, in my opinion, baffles a lot of practitioners. It frustrates them because they don't understand why their rituals and their workings are not coming to fruition. So I wanted you to see that 3D image compared to the two because of the fact that when you get a pyramid structure and you start breaking it down by levels, by sides, each side recommending something different. Okay, and I'm going to show a couple of these with you. The first is the four great rules. Okay, the second is the observance of natural tides of the frameworkings. Okay, and these are just two different levels of it. Now, what's interesting to note is that what about the other side? We know a pyramid has four sides. Okay, so if you break it down to know, to will, to keep silent, and to dare, with to go at the very top, you have four pillars going right up to the fifth, and you complete that overall level. Now, Raymond Buckland wrote a book called Signs, Symbols, and Omens. Underneath witchcraft, he breaks it down into three annotation periods: first degree, second degree, and third degree. Each one, it represents a different manifestation. First degree would be classified as the female, second the male, and the third the overall abundance. Okay, but let's break this further. Okay, now you can bring this into a form of ritualized magic or ceremonial magics. Okay, the symbolism, the eloquence of it. Now, when we look at this aspect, we can break this down into, say, for an example, to know. Okay, to know is to understand. Now, the three things that make up a sorcerer is the wisdom to know the difference between right and wrong, good and evil, or even that of day and night, men and women, and etc. Okay, but when you get into the actual understanding process, to have wisdom comes understanding, and to have understanding, you have actual knowledge. Now, Anton Zander LaVey once stated that power comes from undefiled wisdom. This is on the 9 satanic statements. Okay? So, right there, to know, okay, to get into a grimoire and break it down, look at the mechanics, the physics of it, the actual status of all the combined ingredients. Then you can move on to dare. Dare to practice, dare to experiment, to will to apply it to your life, to keep secret from those who would use it against you. But most importantly, to go forth with absolute, undefiled power of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Merlin is classified as one of the world's famous wizards. He's considered a druid in the Welsh portion of Druidism, the Welsh pantheon. And a lot of druids, especially those who get into Druidism, always call upon his wisdom. He's always mentioned in all of these books, be it Druid's Power, the 21 points of Merlin, the Celtic Dawn, the Celtic, Golden Dawn, whatever. He's always mentioned as a wisdom factor. So in actuality, when you take a role model such as that, you have to understand them. You have to know where they're coming from. What have they practiced? Okay? And you can do this with each one of these pillars, the 4 main pillars of air, fire, water, earth, before going into the spiritual. Now, Christopher Penziak, on the other hand, he had a different method, specifically that of the, say for an example, the Temple of Inner Witchcraft, which deals with psychicism. Opening up your chakras, your kundalini. Opening up your third eye and becoming more and more sensitive to the energies around you. But most importantly, the third book in the series, which is the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft. Okay? Now, this book breaks down the brain, the 3 layers of the brain, front to back, with all that in the back being the shadow aspect. This is where all the inflictions, the negativity, and the pain go that you have to deal with. Otherwise, you have an explosive manner. Okay? Like a child being told no. Pitch a temper tantrum, right? Same exact process. You have to learn to unlock those, going and shifting between the conscious of the waking world and going into your subconscious, the astral or spiritual realm. Okay, but it doesn't stop there. To know the quantum physics or that of the actual process and the mechanics of the rituals will allow you to learn to either ascend or descend, depending if you want to go into the land of shadows, stay in the spiritual realm, or go into that of the celestial or angelic realms. Only you can decide which one you wish to go for. The Witch's Creed, broken down into a 3D pyramid, And I do recommend that you actually draw one of these out for yourself, for your own personal record, and set it up so you can actually read this. And you can actually draw lines through it and layer it all the way up to go, the spirit. Because this will actually show you the differences of each side and what it represents, from knowledge to practice to applications to faith. Christopher Penziak actually put it in The Outer Temple of Witchcraft as being a science, a religion, and an art. Okay? When you look at it, it really is a religion. It really is a science. Look at alchemy. Look at herbalism. Okay? How would you put together a healing potion if you didn't know the mathematics of, say, for an example, a 1/3 pinch, let's say 1/3 tablespoon of rosemary, okay, compared to, say, 1/4 of garlic, cloved garlic, okay? You have to know the math. You have to know the percentage to even do herbalism, especially if you're going to utilize herbalism within, say, for an example, the three main, or I should say, known uses for herbalism and alchemy: to heal, to make sick, and to kill. Okay? Alchemy is simply a matter of breaking something down, making it from one thing, and then recreating it into another. This is associated with the Tower card, which is a major arcana card within the tarot cards. Okay? For something to be born, something else has to die. For something to be created, something else has to be destroyed. Okay? You look at what Christianity has done over 2,500 years. Prime example. But keep in mind that not all Christians are the same. Apostolics are different from Pentecostals. Pentecostals are different from Baptists. But then you got different regions of Baptists. You got Southern Baptists and Northern Baptists. You have Catholics compared to Roman Catholics. They have similar workings, but they are different. Taking something from lead and making it into gold is something completely different. You have to literally know the components to put into it. You have to take the ingredients if you want to make gopher dust or black sand or black salt, and you have to learn to combine them. What ingredients do you need and how much of each goes into it? Okay? This is basically the same structure as the pyramid that I just showed you. You have to know. You have to be able to dare yourself to go through with it. You have to will yourself to understand it, to believe in it, to even go forth while keeping secret that which you've learned. Prime example. All right. So with that said, that is this video on episode 3 of chapter 5, Journey into Satanism. I think the next video that I'm going to get into will actually be alchemy and herbalism, because I think it would be good for you to actually begin to break this stuff down and to actually understand its process within each ritual and the different mechanics within each type of ritual, from lust or compassion or destruction, or even doing storm spells, ritual spells, trying to figure out how to do money spells, to gain money. All right. With that said, hope this has been educational. I hope it's been enlightening. And until next time, this dark sorcerer is out. Enjoy.